Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder. And we've got an eclectic week for you this week.
Yes, yeah, we've got we're reviewing two movies that could not be further apart from each other.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, so if you are returning, welcome back. If you're new here, what we usually do is we will get into some box office talk, and then we get into our reviews. And we usually do we do a new movie review, and then we do a classic movie review. So,
Something old and something new.
indeed, yeah.
And let's see here. Daniel, your shirt is something blue.
hmm
And
Something borrowed would be the other
let's
one.
see here. We didn't actually we watched both of these on Paramount Plus, which means we're borrowing it from them.
Yes, there we go. There we go.
Man, Paramount Plus has still just been like it's been such a useful tool for reviewing.
It has been, yeah. Well, I maintain it's because Paramount made a lot of really good stuff. Has made a lot of good stuff in its history.
Yep. Kind of a shame about some of their more recent history, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes. But
Although, okay,
yeah.
so correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't Paramount the original distributor for the Avengers?
Yes.
I still occasionally wonder, what if we lived in the alternate universe where Paramount um, ponied up the extra money to outbid Disney for Marvel? Because like $4 billion in the grand scheme of things for an entertainment company isn't necessarily the most egregious amount. Like, what if they'd been able to come up by and say 4.5 billion?
Yeah.
Because you know that Ike Perlmutter wasn't going to be like George Lucas and go, "Oh well, who'll be the best steward of my brand?"
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been interesting what they would have done with it. Yeah. They either would have done really well with it, or they would have screwed it up.
Yes, yeah, that's the question. Right, that's the question: is where did the rot set in, and did they require the resources of a Disney to do what they needed to do?
Right. Yeah. But yeah. So
I can tell
let's
you one thing they wouldn't have probably done.
yeah.
Probably wouldn't have released the Marvels.
Oh, that's true. That's true. They would not have released the Marvels. And speaking of, that's a good segue to our first topic here, the box office.
I do try. So,
Yeah.
last week's box office, there's a couple of interesting factoids that emerge.
hmm
First off, apparently Taylor Swift is roughly 4.5 times more popular than Beyonce, considering that Beyonce's concert movie came out to a 21 million to open the weekend, where Tease was all over there. Just
Yeah.
sounds completely cringy.
Yeah.
Opened to 92 million.
Mm. Well,
Now, I will say, while I'm of the editorial opinion that Beyonce does not produce music so much as she produces beats with her repeating things over them,
yeah.
I will say that it's not like, at least in my experience, there like Swifty is like, I don't know, male feminist in terms of being a label you don't necessarily want on you,
Yes.
or at least it carries connotations at this point,
Yeah.
like being so obsessed that they crashed Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago at this point, or a year and a half.
Yeah. And yes, and uh, they caused Chris Gore to go on a rant on his show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, like, ruining his movie because they were watching their movie.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not entirely surprised that Beyonce only got a fraction of it, but man, movie theaters are like, oh, come on, this was going to be the thing to make up for no one wanting to see the Marvels or Wish.
Yeah. Uh, well, just Put Godzilla in more screens. That'll solve it.
We'll do the Godzilla concert.
Yes.
All of Godzilla's greatest hits, like the March from Godzilla and Godzilla by the Blue Oyster Cult,
Yeah.
and the Washington regional parody song that I have been told exists, but I've never been able to find online. Godzilla ate Tequila, which is a city
Uh,
around here.
yeah, yeah. Ooh.
Anyway,
Yeah.
back to serious analysis. Okay, so we also don't know what the deal Beyonce got with AMC compared to what Taylor Swift did.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, why speculate? 1 second.
All right.
I'm gonna open up a Fandango in the other window,
My
and
guess is
I'm
it's
gonna
probably similar to what Taylor Swift got.
yeah, like Taylor Swift. When we looked it up, it was like one and a half, like no, like roughly 1.8 to twice what you got or what the normal ticket was.
Hmm.
So if I wanted to go see Beyonce at 7 o'clock today,
Yeah.
how much would that be? Well, there aren't all that many seats taken so far, which is interesting.
Hmm.
Which I guess for a Thursday night isn't too surprising.
Yeah.
Okay, $22.66. Yeah, that's special ticket pricing. So sorry, Beyonce.
Yeah.
Taylor is roughly 4.5 times more popular.
Yeah.
Or at least she has fans who are roughly 4.5 times more popular to want to go see her in a movie concert thing.
Yes. uh, but yeah, it it doesn't really surprise. Yeah, I guess it doesn't surprise me that much that Beyonce and doesn't have that as much popularity. If this was like 20 years ago, I would have said,
Yeah, maybe even 10 years ago.
yeah, maybe even 10. Yeah, it would have done a lot better.
Yep. Oh well, free money.
Yeah.
Now, people who have watched us for a while will know that over the summer excuse me, over the summer we had um, the movie that people were discounting in the form of Elemental, which had an absolutely abysmal opening weekend and then legged out to roughly just shy of 500 million worldwide.
Hmm. Still lost money, but
Yeah, like I was about to say, with the ridiculous budget it had,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it would, they can hold their head high.
Hmm. Yeah,
I th- and I think part of the reason it held on there was that what else was there to take your kids to that, that summer?
yeah.
Because they moved the Marvels to the fall
Right.
out of some delusional hope that some reshoots and re-editing could make it better, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It swapped with they swapped release dates with the Haunted Mansion.
Which I still say that the Haunted Mansion would have probably done better if it had actually come out around Halloween.
Yeah, as opposed to July.
Yeah, I can't really think of any kids movies that were out in the summer.
Well,
I
you
think,
had we had Ninja Turtles was late in the summer.
yeah,
Um,
I guess some people consider Barbie a kids movie, though. Having seen it, I don't think it's really kid appropriate at all.
yeah, yeah. Trying to think. Yeah, I can't think of really too many. There wasn't a Minions movie, was there?
No, that was last summer.
Right, right. And then of course Mario was in March.
Right, so Mario was like still at like the discount theaters and such, but
Yeah,
it was largely done.
yeah.
Anyway, I bring this up because I think that the Hunger Games is our elemental of the winter season
Mm,
because it opened up to a not amazing box office, but it's it's got legs.
yeah. I wonder if word got out that what's her Rachel Ziegler isn't really the star of the movie. So people are like,
Yes.
oh well, I guess I could go see this movie.
What's interesting is if you look at the movie poster here, even the movie poster has the guy who plays Snow up front and center.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're already at 2.8 times legs. So after 3 weeks,
Yeah.
so yeah, well done, I guess. I mean, actually, it passed the test of somebody at work had seen it and he said it was good.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that means that people are actually going to see this thing.
Yeah. Which I mean, if you want to sit through an almost 3 hour Hunger Games movie, I mean, go right ahead. It's not for
Uh,
me, but
well, let me ask you the devil's advocate question.
okay.
What else is there to see?
That's true.
like, like let's before we get into some numbers here, let's run down the list here. So we've got a Japanese foreign language film, an excellent Japanese foreign language film, but
Hmm.
I think the choice not to have a dub option is I don't know. I feel like it was a ultimately a mistake.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because not everybody likes going to subtitles or reading subtitles.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm thinking of some people I know, like um, people with bad vision,
Hmm.
people who don't read English well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like as much as the sub is the original version, it's like the option needs to be there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so you got a Japanese foreign language movie. You've got a pretty mindless trolls kids movie.
Yeah.
Actually, let's look at this from the perspective of, let's say you're an adult type person who wants to go see a movie.
Hmm.
So we'll just cut out anything that's kiddie. So your options are a Hunger Games prequel, and if you're an adult, you probably saw at least one of the original movies.
Yeah.
You've got a Disney movie, which those are usually more four quadrant, but
Yeah.
everyone you know is telling you that's bad.
Yeah.
Napoleon is longer than Hunger Games,
Hmm.
and you might have heard people say, "Yeah, it's basically a chick flick with like his relationship with Josephine."
Yeah. And her wife's boyfriending her, or
Yeah,
boyfriending him.
yes. Um, then you've got Animal, which I want to say is a Bollywood movie.
Yeah, like Bollywood or Tollywood.
Yeah, yeah. Which then gives you probably the same problem as the as Godzilla minus one.
Hmm.
You got the Shift, which is a weird alternate, like weird multiversal version of the Book of Job set in a dystopia,
Yeah, yeah.
which
From
sounds interesting at least, but
yeah, it does. It's from Angel Studios who put out the Sound of Freedom. Yeah,
yeah. But unlike the Sound of Freedom, which was produced by Fox and then shelved by Disney, so it's actually like super high grade, actually like reasonable size Hollywood production. This
yeah,
is an Angel Studio joint, so I've
right.
heard that not that I expect quite the same production values.
Yeah,
But then you've got a Thanksgiving movie, which horror isn't necessarily everybody's game.
yeah,
You've got the Marvels, which it's in its fourth week, so by now you've either seen it or you've heard people at work say it sucks.
yeah, yeah,
Which instantly, the same person who went to see the Hunger Games said the Marvels sucked.
yeah,
Um, and then you've really just got a bunch of Oscar bait,
yeah,
like Saltburn, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon.
yeah. Priscilla. Yeah,
Yeah. So like it's really kind of the option where I want to say this thing is PG-13.
yeah. It's PG-13. Yeah,
So it's like, okay, you can take your kids to it if they're of a certain age and maturity level. You probably know what a Hunger Games is.
hmm,
I think it's gotten decent word of mouth, and I've heard like reviews are mixed, but they're not like, oh, this is the worst thing ever.
yeah,
I remember a Film Threats review of it was mostly like positive-ish,
yeah,
and like they didn't have any ill will towards the movie at the end of it.
yeah, yeah.
So
And yeah, Gore said it was kind of like the origins for the bad guy Snow, and it's sort of like with Revenge of the Sith, kind of.
yeah,
Yeah, his descent to evil.
so yeah, I think that this movie is going to be the beneficiary of a lack of options for that particular demographic.
Hmm. Sort of like what Avatar was last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Mixed with also, I gotta say, from what I've heard, Avatar 2 has not has not charted on streaming services at all.
Hmm.
That, I'd have to double check that. But I just recall somebody saying that in a stream I was watching, which kind of to me implies that Avatar is just a purely theatrical brand, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It. Well, if you look at it, I mean, I mean, just looking at the clips that I've seen, it's like, okay, yeah, that would probably look really good on a movie screen. I'm sure it did look great on a movie screen or an IMAX, and yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, I understand why people don't necessarily want to see it at home.
yeah.
But continuing down, um, oh, by the way, Hunger Games: Song of Songbirds and Snakes is not sniffing Jennifer Lawrence's boot right now in terms of box office.
That's true. Oh, yeah.
So, like that's kind of where it's also the elemental, where it's plugging away, but it's like you started from a lower place than people were probably hoping.
Yeah.
It's just that, well, also Lionsgate had the smarts to make this thing for 100 million instead of 200 or 300 million.
Right. Yeah.
Although the economy king goes to Godzilla -1.
Hmm.
What I hadn't realized was that this thing was only supposed to be in American theaters for 1 week originally,
Mm.
according to what I saw on Twitter, which, take that grain of salt. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they decided to extend it because of just how good of a response this is.
Yeah.
This is one of the best openings for a foreign language film in the US,
Mm.
if not the best. It's definitely the best for a Japanese language film that isn't an anime.
Yeah. That's yeah. That's good. Yeah.
And the thing only cost 15 million to make, so you're very close to some real profitability.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it will make some money. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and plus it just has the advantage of being a Godzilla film, which means that just forever you're going to have a certain segment of the population that will go back and revisit it occasionally.
Hmm. Yeah.
But just the fact that it's a damn good movie on its own right. Like, you feel good when you hear people that you think are smart saying things like similar to what you think too.
Yeah.
I was watching the Critical Drinker, or I was listening to the Critical Drinker while I was working earlier. Eh, I didn't actually watch his review, but I was listening to his podcast with Mahler and all those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And somebody said this could have been a movie about fighting off a typhoon or dealing with a natural disaster
Mm.
or something like that, and it would have worked exactly the same. It's like, yes, thank you. You have a human plot and the bones of a plot that are enhanced by having a kaiju, but don't require a kaiju.
Yeah.
That is ironically how you make a kaiju movie. Is you
Huh.
have to actually have, like, in my opinion at least, you actually. Okay, so I enjoyed Godzilla versus Kong from a couple years back,
Hmm.
but it's a very different type of enjoyment than Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
Like if you took all the kaiju stuff out of Godzilla versus Kong, you'd probably have a half-hour boring movie with Marvel or Transformers grade human acting and jokes.
Jeez. Yeah.
So like if you want high octane kaiju action, you're good.
Mm. Yeah.
But this is actually like a story, so that's refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to have something that's interesting in a movie like that. Yeah.
Yep. Rounding out the rest of our top 10 are some familiar faces. We got Trolls hanging in there. Wish in its second weekend dropping 60% off of an already bad
Mm.
opening weekend.
Yeah.
The the Wish.com version of a Disney animated movie, like they're little legit people are. It's apparently so generic, and badly written that people are legitimately wondering if an AI was used to write part of this movie. Because there's plot points that go nowhere. The "I Want" song from the girl, like, nothing actually seems to be that wrong with her life.
Oh,
The
jeez.
the villain's plan, like, to steal people's wishes to power the kingdom, like, only one person is mildly sad that their wish was stolen, and everyone else seems okay with it. Just the more I hear
Wow.
about this movie, the worse it gets.
Jeez. Man. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. Well, from everything we've been hearing, the production of this movie, that movie was a disaster. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that reminds me I need to go to Film Threat to read some of the articles that Alan's been putting out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds juicy.
Yes.
Let's see here. Continuing on down our list, we got Napoleon. We've already said our piece on that.
Mhm.
The Shift, Animal,
Yeah.
Silent Night. We already just kind of brushed over those, and that's.
Yeah.
And then we got Thanksgiving. Hey, you know what movie is not in the top 10 anymore after a month?
The Marvels.
The Marvels. And now it's interesting. Now Daniel sent me a thing from Variety where so they're still going to be showing the Marvels through the end of the year, at least, it sounds like,
Mm.
most likely, but they aren't going to be reporting box office for it anymore.
Ugh. Yeesh.
Which I wonder if that takes effect this weekend. I guess we'll know next week
Hmm.
because I'm still like the numbers is still reporting daily box office for it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's probably start the next weekend, I guess, because
Eh,
it's
Or it's possible, and I've never been. Have you ever considered how weird it is that we have such exacting box office figures and have for decades?
yeah. Yeah, they must have some way to track those sales.
Right. Well, I more mean when you like think about like a big picture view, like how many industries do you know down to the dollar what they made? It's not like when a new video game comes out, there's you know the video game reporter reporting that
Yeah,
oh Baldur's Gate 3 sold X 5,274 copies this week, and in its second week it dropped down to 100,000 or something like that.
right. Yeah,
Like you have to use proxies and estimates and relative sales on the charts and things like that.
yeah. Yeah. There must be something in the history of the box office that where this is required.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I guess I'm saying is maybe if Disney isn't reporting it, maybe the theaters are reporting it somehow.
Mm.
So I guess we'll see how that goes. But yeah, they're ending this box office run with less than $200 million.
Ooh, man, that's
Now
just yeah.
that's better than fellow superhero movie Blue Beetle. At least I think it is. Let's find out.
Yep.
Yeah, Blue
Yeah.
Beetle only made
Bill.
128 million,
Yeah.
but not that much more domestically.
No, it didn't. Yeah, that's wow.
Cons- Considering this is a movie that made a billion and change a few years back.
Yeah. Well, of course,
And
well, Captain Marvel made a billion because they did the whole bait and switch, where it's like, oh, you have to know what happens in Avengers Endgame. You need to watch this movie, and we didn't need to know.
nope, nothing of value gained except for knowing who this woman who quote Thor likes.
Yeah.
Um, but it also underperformed Flash, which is
Eesh.
which the Flash at least managed to edge its way over 250 million worldwide.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man.
let's see here. Other movies that outdid the Marvels. We've got Elemental.
Hmm. Yeah.
Indiana Jones did roughly twice as good as the Marvels.
Oh man.
Ant-Man, I think, did. I think, what was Ant-Man's opening weekend? Ant-Man quadrilogy.
Ant Man was better than
Ant-Man was like on par with
100,
Elemental.
yeah, 106.
Yeah, so Ant-Man made more in its opening weekend than Marvel's entire domestic run.
Oh man.
Um, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm. Guardians Guardians didn't have a very good okay, 118 million opening
I
weekend, but
forgot it. I had this. I had it in my mind that Guardians had a worse opening weekend than Ant-Man did, but I guess not.
yeah, I thought so too, but that's another movie that legged out.
Yeah, and you know, better than any two of the movies we've been talking, or most of the two movies we've been talking about put together.
Yeah.
So, and we did a whole video about why the Marvels failed, but it's a kind of embarrassing footnote that you're going to stop reporting your box office out of shame.
Yeah. Ooh, man.
It's kind of like the moment in the last console generation where Microsoft announced they're going to stop reporting annual Xbox sales because Sony was whipping them.
Ooh, man.
It's like, yeah, you wouldn't be hiding those if they were good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But oh well.
Yeah.
So I guess we won't have the Marvels to kick around anymore? Question mark. So
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what effect this actually has on the reporting. And you know
Yeah.
what? Hey, Warner Brothers, like I suggested last week during our Scott Pilgrim review, uh, have Brie Larson do an Envy Adams like character as the villain for the next Barbie movie.
Yes.
She is very good in that role. She actually does have talent as much as Captain Marvel sucks as a character. Nobody could have made that character likable.
That's true. Yeah. Well, maybe what's her name? From Battlestar Galactica, the blonde.
Wasn't she like the one who was the alternate they were considering?
Yeah, they were considering her Katie Sackhoff.
Not familiar with her, but probably more charismatic.
Oh yeah.
Just,
Oh yeah, she is.
just.
Yeah, she played she's Bo-Katan in the Mandalorian.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yep. So yep. So I guess that's our last. So yeah. So box office trends. Bad time to be a movie theater.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the reason they've been able to expand Godzilla this weekend is what else do they have to show?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but you know what? Y- you know what goes really well with a failure fry?
A good burger.
A good burger.
Yeah, so our new movie this week we watched Good Burger 2, which I forgot came out a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd meant to watch it with my sister when she was in town for Thanksgiving, but we just there's never a good opportunity.
Yeah.
So for those who are too young or had, or watched good movies and TV shows when they were younger, in the 90s, Nickelodeon had basically its version of Saturday Night Live called All That,
Hmm.
which was a sketch comedy show. And two of the bigger stars that came out of it were Keenan and Kel.
Yep. Yeah, Keenan is on the left there, and then Kel's right in the middle.
Yep. Good Burger 2. I'm pulling up the Good Burger 2 IMDb just so I have some actor names handy if in case I need them.
Yeah, and one of the skits from the show was Good Burger with
Hmm.
Kel playing a character named Ed, And his whole shtick was, he'd say, "Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?" Huh?
Yeah.
And then he would proceed to get the person's order wrong.
Yep. And also Keenan and Kel were popular enough that they got their own Keenan and Kel show.
Yeah, yeah, I remember watching that. Yeah,
Yep. And the shtick they always did was that Kel was the space case idiot, but heart of gold.
hmm
Um, where Keenan's character was uh, just kind of a conniving, also kind of idiot,
yeah,
who was always getting them out of trouble,
yeah,
or getting to me not out of trouble, always getting them further into trouble is what I meant to say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that kind of played out in the first Good Burger movie, where
Hmm.
uh, in that movie, Ed comes up with has a recipe for a sauce that's just like this out of this world, just delicious sauce, and they start putting it on their burgers and fries, and Keenan like takes advantage of them, and
Hmm.
um, and hygiene, and then they had like a rival fast food burger place that was trying to get the recipe, and yeah,
Yeah, Mondo Burger, I think.
Mondo, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and which that actually comes back in this movie a little bit. Um,
Yes.
yeah, but but yeah, so this movie picks up 20 plus years after the first movie. And Keenan's character Dex is kind of an aspiring entrepreneur who has like really stupid ideas.
Now, let's be fair. His idea is a fireproofing chemical for your house.
Yeah.
If you can make that work, that's a good idea.
Yes, but if it doesn't work though, it's
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, and your way of testing it is to have spokesmodels attack a house with a flamethrower, and then turn your back to it and continue talking as though you've obviously succeeded
yeah,
as the
and
house burns down.
yes, and put fireworks in the house. Yeah.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. So
but
he's forced. Yeah, he loses his company in what I would call an unrealistically quick manner.
yeah, because all of his investors pull out, and of course one of them is Mark Cuban.
Alleged scam artist Mark Cuban. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and yeah, so then he first he calls up his sister, and then at the end of the movie you see who plays his sister, um, and then
Hint: it's a character from Ghostbusters 2016.
yes, yes, and of course what I didn't realize is Keenan and her, they were on SNL together, so that's where
Hmm.
yeah, I forgot that, yeah, I forgot to mention, yeah, Keenan was on SNL for a few years.
I think he still is, isn't he? Or did he
Oh,
leave?
he might still be on there. Yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah. But and then Kel, what did Kel do? Well, he went off and had a small boatload of children,
yes,
who I think
uh,
I feel like they actually are in this movie.
I do too. Yeah, yeah. There probably was some self insert stuff going on between the two of them. Yeah,
Yeah, looking through the IMDb here, towards the bottom of the list, there's an awful lot of actors named Mitchell.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so Dexter, his business fails, so he goes off to um, eh, he has to go back to working at Good Burger.
hmm and yeah, and then of course, he finds out that Ed actually owns Good Burger.
Yeah, which, considering that his sauce saved the company,
Yeah, yeah, and
that's fair.
yeah, and he's been working there like for over 20 years. So yeah,
Yep.
um,
Uh, and from there, so again, like a lot of the jokes of the original movie and Good Burger sketch was people getting frustrated at Kel, or Ed as his character is called.
yeah,
And I will say that you almost, it's easy to forget that he hasn't played this character in 20 years, because it's like seamless the way he gets back into it.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, and it it looks like he hadn't aged a day
Yeah,
since the first movie.
seriously.
Yeah.
Li- Like in this shot, you can kind of see it in his cheeks a bit, but actually both of them are so recognizably themselves still.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Um,
So they've aged
yeah.
well.
Yes, they have. And so and then yeah, like I said, is they're the usual hijinks of Good Burger and one of the of course the joke I really liked was when he's uh, Kel's unplugging the milkshake machine, and
Yeah.
he's using the plunger. It's like you're using the is that the plunger we use to unclog the toilets? uh, no.
Yeah, and there's a lot of just nice dumb humor. Like
Yeah.
it's it's a very good spirited movie, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so too. And yeah, I mean it's if you like the first one, you'll like this one. And yeah, it's got a lot of the same humor in it. And of course, it wouldn't be a movie that's aimed at kind of primarily aimed at kids if it didn't have at least one fart joke in it.
Yes. It is interesting when you think about it. Like, who was this aimed for? And I feel like it is. I feel like it is kind of like there's references in here. Like there was a actress from All That who showed up as her character, Connie Muldoon.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, just who's just a very librarian-ish person, like very supercilious.
Yes, yeah. We would call her a Karen nowadays.
Yes. I want the top patty to be well done. I want the medium patty to be medium well. And
Yes,
the
I want you to put the onion on and then take the onion off. 'Cause I like the essence of the onion, not the crunch.
um, uh, and then of course the bigger plot is that once again Mondo Burger is up to no good, and they have to stop them from taking over the Good Burger.
Yeah, and it's not called Mondo Burger. It was called something else.
The
Burger or
Burger World? Yeah,
Burger
Burger
World.
World. That's it.
Yeah,
You,
yeah,
you,
and
you agreed with my bad answer before, man. I
that's all right.
trusted
That's
you.
right. Yes. Sorry. Uh, but
You know I'm not good with names by Thursday.
I know, I know. And but the new burger place though is run by the sister of the bad guy from the first movie, and
Put a
she's yeah
chicken in it, make it funny.
yeah yeah.
Um,
But yeah, in the greater the greater plot of it, kind of they put in some like real world stuff in there too, with like fast food restaurants becoming more automated.
right.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically, Dex screws up and gets the company sold to Burger World, and they have to try to get the company back.
Yes, and in a hilarious way too.
Yeah, there was one bit that I thought was really clever where they they had some really good horror makeup where they need to clear people out of a control room, so somebody pretends they're delivering radioactive waste or something,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
drop the bottle, and when she comes up again, her face is melting off, and all the people in the
yeah,
control room, oh, no, absolutely not, and they just bolt out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
Uh,
I'll say I don't know that I ever necessarily laughed out loud, but I was smiling a lot while watching this.
yeah, I was smiling and chuckling. Yeah,
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 like
yeah,
it's not going to like make you reconsider the human condition or pose difficult questions, but it's basically fast food in movie form.
yeah. And I will say one of the things I really liked was, of course, you usually with comedy duos like this, you got the straight man and then you got the oddball.
Hmm.
And of course, Keenan's the straight man, and whenever Kel does something or says they're talking about something, Kel says something just completely like, "What are you talking about?" kind of thing. Keenan just kind of smiles and nods, like, "Yep, nope, you're absolutely right. Yep,
Yeah, these two do work well together,
yeah,
and like I said, it's. I want to say that I heard some time back that Kel was doing like stage work or something like that, or
mm,
like I feel like he could. I don't know. I feel like he could make a go of it in movies again if he wanted to.
yeah, I think so too." He was in Mystery Men.
Oh,
Uh,
that's right.
yeah, he was one of the heroes in Mystery Men. So eh,
I need to rewatch that movie sometime.
I do too. Yeah, I've only seen it like a couple of times, and I haven't watched it since it came out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But yeah, so I honestly think that even if you, it's not like Good Burger has some deep, complicated lore that you have to understand.
yeah, yeah.
If you're just in the mood for a good family movie, then have at it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Streaming on Paramount Plus.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Go check it out. Yep.
Now for our classic movie, a movie that has literally nothing in common with this one, except for the fact that it also streams on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
We've got Death Wish,
yes. That was Charles Bronson.
uh, uh, filmed in Bronson, Missouri.
Yeah. Hey Ma, how about some cookies?
No dice.
This ain't over.
I forget who on the Simpsons cast does Charles Bronson, but they do him so well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Um, yeah.
So Daniel, you know what I was not expect? Okay, so I had never seen this movie before.
I hadn't either. Yeah.
I had seen Razor Fist's review of it many, many years back.
Mhm.
So like, but I don't think I had any of you know, like when you know you've reviewed something and every single thing just jumps out at you, like, oh yeah, then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And
Yeah.
then there's times where it's like, I know I saw a review of this, but everything is
Yeah.
mildly surprising.
Yeah. Yeah.
Th- This was in the second category, so it was a fresh experience for me. Um, you know what I was not expecting this movie to be?
What was that?
Political.
Yeah.
Like the reputation that that this series has, and they made these for literally 20 years.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
looked it up on the numbers. It seems like it had a Rambo trajectory where it started off as a serious introspective movie, and then by the end of it, it was just completely goofy and ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. The sequels. Most of the sequels, I believe, were produced by Canon Films.
Okay,
Yeah.
Charles, why are you still in these movies? Well, I got bills to pay.
Yeah. I got an ex-wife. I'm still paying. I don't know if he had an ex-wife. I don't know.
It seems like something somebody with his voice would have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll get into the politics of it later. But
Yeah.
so broad strokes of it. This was set in the 1970s, which 1970s New York had a,
Mhm.
like, we're having a problem with crime in this country right now. 1970s crime wave laughs at us for calling what we have right now a crime wave.
Yeah. Yeah. My late uncle was living in New York at that time, and yeah, he would tell me that he would have to walk around with his keys in between his fingers, so that if he
Oh,
got mugged, he could like claw them away.
wow.
Yeah, and he'd have to wear like a cheap watch, like clear. He had a clear wallet with he kept like a couple of bucks on him. Yeah,
Yeesh. Just they have to go to ridiculous lengths because things were not good.
Right. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Things were not good. Yeah. They were very very bad.
So in the context of this, you have Charles Bronson's character named Paul Kersey.
Hmm.
He has a great life. Great life. He's wealthy enough that he can go to Hawaii on vacation. Beautiful wife, beautiful daughter, useless son-in-law
Yeah.
who keeps calling him dad, which confused me slightly.
It's not entirely unusual. My sister-in-law calls my parents mom and dad.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the way he does it makes him seem more useless
Oh, yeah.
some, somehow.
Yeah, that's true.
So, um, so everything seems to be going great. Well, Paul Kersey is living the life.
Hmm.
Uh, and then, and
Yeah.
then one day, his wife and daughter are at the grocery store, and they arrange to have their groceries delivered home. And some um, some punks who are just out for no good
Mhm.
uh, decide, sure, why not them?
Yeah. One of them is played by Jeff Goldblum.
Which when I was like, is that Jeff Goldblum? As soon as I started typing into Bing, is Jeff Goldblum?
Yeah.
The first result was the punk in Death Wish.
Yeah. Yeah.
So apparently, a lot of other people had the same reaction I did.
Yeah. 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 So the punks break into the apartment and they do bad things to Paul's wife and daughter.
Yeah,
Um,
things we don't want to discuss on YouTube.
right. Yeah. And
This is not one for the kiddies, folks.
No, no, it's not one for the kiddies. Yeah. So his wife dies. His daughter becomes catatonic, and so he's trying to cope with all of it. And like as you said, his of course his son-in-law is useless and isn't helping out at all, really.
Yep.
Yeah, and so then he goes to he's working on this. He goes to Tucson, Arizona on a business trip because he's
Right. Basically, his boss says, you need to get out of here for a while."
yeah. Yeah, and so he meets. So he starts hanging around with this landowner, land developer that they're working with, and shows him his gun collection or takes him to the gun club.
Yep.
And you learn a little bit more about Paul. You find out that he was in Korea.
As a conscientious objector,
Yes, yeah, he was a medic. Um, and
but a crack shot because of a childhood of hunting.
hunting, right? Yeah, and you find out that his dad died in a hunting accident, and that's why he didn't really like guns anymore because his mom was kind of like Mariko.
Yeah, pacifist character from Magpie Wizard, for the record.
Yes, and he lived his life basically as a as his office buddy called him, just a total bleeding heart liberal.
Yeah, yeah. When we unpin that politics pin, we'll be talking about that.
Yes, yeah. And but then so then the guy gifts him a gun,
Mhm.
which back then you could get through get through on a check bag through
Yeah,
security. The good old days.
yeah. Like, and he didn't even let him know he was giving him the guns. Like, here are these two gifts for you, and it's just two pistols,
Yes,
one
and
sensible sized, one f off sized.
yeah. And yeah, so then he goes back to New York, and uh, although I can't remember, was this before or after he went to Arizona when he goes to the bank and gets $20 in quarters.
This was, I want to say, this is after.
After, yeah, so he knowing that he probably needs to defend himself, he gets a 20, a couple of $10 quarter rolls, puts them in a sock, and he he gets mugged. Yeah, and he gets the sock and he hits the guy right in the face, and that was his kind of his first taste of vigilantism. And then he gets another one when he's out walking, and then guy tries to mug him, and he just turns around and shoots him.
Yep. And so begins the overall, like that's like the first act. The rest of the movie is basically him having a few more of these encounters in
Mhm.
the reaction to the city of having somebody who just goes out there looking for trouble, and when someone tries to mug him, blam, blam, blam.
Yep.
It's just like, yeah, how would the city respond? How would the government respond? How do the people of the city respond? How do muggers respond?
Hmm.
And there's a scene in the movie where it's yeah, but his useless son-in-law never finds out like what he's up to.
Yeah.
But the two of them are talking, and this is after he's come back from Arizona, and I believe he and his son are talking about, what do we do? What are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Uh, what do you call somebody who's when there's trouble is just willing to live in fear? I don't know, civilized.
Yeah.
Are we not pioneers anymore? If we aren't, what are we?
Yeah.
And they have just from the reputation, I was not expecting this movie to be smart. I have to admit,
Yeah.
like I did not expect it to really have a thesis. I thought it was just going to be Charles Bronson wasting people the entire movie.
Yeah. More in line with the sequels.
Yep. But this one definitely has a point of view, and um, if we often criticize movies on this channel for being overly political in the other way, I feel like I have to be mildly critical of this one for being very one-sided.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it is very much like it keeps taking jabs at um, bleeding heart liberals. At one scene, you have a cocktail party where somebody says, "Well, the vigilante kills more blacks and whites." Jesus, what are we supposed to get more representation in muggers?
Yeah. Which, if you think about it, could that could be those are probably conversations and cocktail parties in New York right now.
Yeah, like, it feels like something like out of a Daily Wire movie or something.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess it just goes to show you that the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
Um, and the movie is definitely of the opinion that things would be better if people stood up for themselves.
Hmm.
Like you see the result, you see the effects it has on people. Like they have an old woman who's interviewed where she ran off her muggers with a hat pin. He
Yeah.
actually does have a noted increase on the number of muggings per week in the city because the criminals realize, ah, crap,
Yeah.
we could actually get shot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and what I like too was that the cop that's going after him is slightly incompetent.
See, I didn't necessarily. Hmm.
Well, not incompetent, just kind of what's the word I'm
He's
looking
definitely
for?
a blowhard.
A blowhard. Yeah, yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah,
Like he's definitely cocky. He walks around like he knows everything, which
yeah,
I got the impression he was pretty smart. Just he was kind of like he did come up with a plan and a way to figure out who he was.
right. Yeah.
Now, did he actually find out who he was? Let's not spoil that. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because I think I put this in the recommend category. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you're of a political slant where you would find the concept of it's basically a good guy with a gun, the movie.
Hmm. Yeah. I would say kind of the prototype for that genre of movie. Definitely the good guy with the good guy with the gun, revenge, vigilante type, yeah, story.
Right. Because um, unlike some of the other movies we criticize for politics on here, I would say that you definitely see where he's coming from, like why he would be driven to this.
Yeah.
because it's a system that won't do anything about it. And if the system won't do anything about it, then I will.
Yeah. Which
Gee, thank you, YouTube, for alerting me on my phone that the Critique Corner podcast has started.
oh, way to go, you two.
Only 55 minutes late.
Jeez. That could explain the viewership right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, well, probably some of our regulars are busy tonight.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, let's see here. So before I got distracted by that dinging noise, so it's political. I could see
Uh,
people finding this unpleasant just because there are some very graphic scenes.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the scene with his wife and daughter. Yeah, that.
Yeah, that was rough to watch. It
Yeah.
doesn't get quite that bad again, the whole movie.
No, no, it doesn't. But yeah, that one scene though is just like, oh. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's uh, yeah, like you said, it's very it is more thought provoking than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah,
And it's you know, I can see, he's definitely a character you end up rooting for as the
yeah,
movie progresses, because I don't want to compare him to Batman because of course Batman's whole thing is, of course, they're completely different for two reasons. One, Batman doesn't use a gun. Two, he doesn't kill anybody.
actually, thank you for bringing that up, bringing up comic books, because I
Yeah.
realized this is the same time period that gave us the Punisher.
Ah.
So
Mm.
let's see here. When did the Punisher come out?
That's a good question. Yeah, did this movie influence the Punisher?
Let's see here. The Punisher, Jerry Conway, Amazing Spider-Man 129, February 1974. So
Okay, so right around the same time.
yeah, and this was based on a book, so I'm going to presume that there were just two independent people having the similar thoughts about situations in society at the time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Um, the other thing I wasn't expecting, like, I even remember dismissively going, "Oh, gee, why does the soundtrack by?" Actually, let me pull up IMDb here because it's worth mentioning. Uh,
Yeah, oh the music plays a very prominent role in this movie, as music usually did with most movies from this era.
yeah, like it's very interesting soundtrack because it it had the soundtrack won a Grammy for Herbie Hancock.
Mm, wow.
So good on him.
Yeah.
It's an interesting soundtrack because it drives the emotions. There's a lot of scenes of Charles Bronson honestly just wandering through the park or a subway looking around.
Yeah.
The music gives it menace. It tracks the action perfectly.
Yeah.
It it just it like it's such a necessary part of this movie. So I,
Yeah.
I I see why they gave it such a prominent place in the opening credits.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised by this movie, and also too, it's not very long. It's only 90 minutes.
Yeah, so nice, short and sweet. You can see why it was popular enough that it warranted at least a sequel. Maybe not four sequels. Of
Yeah.
the one thing I'm disappointed by is the one clip I remembered out of context. Line,
Oh,
do you believe in Jesus? Because you're gonna meet him.
yeah.
That was apparently in Death Wish too, so I kept waiting for it to be in this one.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, was he say? Was it was in the second one? Yeah.
So, which, to be honest, that would be a little bit too silly for this movie because uh,
Yeah.
the way he cuts down these muggers he runs into is honestly more like it's like he's putting down animals. He doesn't really talk to them at all.
No, that's right. Yeah, and when he does, he's being very, kind of somewhat nonchalant about it.
Yeah. So Yeah, this movie is just surprising from a lot of different angles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Recommend if you don't find the idea of, you know, gunslinging vigilante offensive somehow, and if you can tolerate, like I was going to call this an exploitation movie just based on just based on that one scene, but it really
Yeah.
changed its tone afterwards.
Yeah. But yeah, I would recommend this movie too. Yeah, if you're not overly sensitive about, yeah, some of that subject matter. Yeah.
Yeah, it yeah, like it's actually art. I was not expecting art.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that exhausts what we have to say about Death Wish. It is harder to talk about a good thing than a bad thing.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. Well, all right. Thank you for anybody tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell. And follow me on Twitter if you prefer watching live streams on Twitter. My Twitter handle's right down below. We also stream on there too. So
Okay.
yeah, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Right. Also, go see Godzilla.
Oh yeah, go see Godzilla. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night.